Hey everyone, so in this section we're talking about what is the best college major that you should consider if you're interested in becoming a teacher. Now, before we go into the actual content of this segment, we want to give you a few disclaimers. Number one, this is probably only going to be applicable to those of you who have the intention of teaching within Canada or the United States. And number two, this is only going to be applicable for those of you who intend on teaching between grade 1 to grade 12. So for those of you who are interested in teaching community college or university, it's going to be slightly different, and perhaps will be a different segment about that in the future, but hopefully this will be a great introduction for those of you who are interested in pursuing a career in teaching and are looking at some information on what it is that you should focus on during your undergraduate studies in order to best prepare you for this. Okay, so it's worth mentioning that teachers can come from a variety of different educational backgrounds. Now, obviously, there's a ton of different subjects that people can be interested in actually teaching, and for that reason, teachers are needed from a variety of different disciplines. With that said, depending on what grade it is that you want to teach and what it is specifically you want to focus on, having coursework in a variety of different topics can be very helpful for you. So that's something for you to consider as you're doing some of your college planning. With that said, you should definitely consider the subject area that you're the most passionate about. This is because often some of the best and most effective teachers are those that are actually teaching the material that they're really passionate about themselves. However, it's also extremely important for you to be cognizant of the labor market in the area that you actually want to be teaching in, and whether or not there's actually going to be employment opportunities for you based on the subject areas that you're actually going to be focusing on. And so for this reason, you might want to think about either minoring, double majoring, or taking a significant amount of courses in other subject areas as well, so that you have a variety of different options that are available to you based on the curriculum that you've been able to cover during your undergraduate studies. Now, depending on where it is that you want to teach and where you're going to actually get your licensing, you might also be required to take a variety of other courses as well, just so that you're able to be competent enough to teach a variety of different subjects within a classroom setting. This might be particularly relevant for those of you who want to teach some of the younger grades where a single teacher would be teaching a variety of different subject areas as opposed to a high school setting where teachers might focus on a specific subject area where they're teaching all of their courses in that particular field. So you've determined that there's a variety of different teaching opportunities regardless of your field of study. Whether you come from a STEM background or you come from a liberal arts-based background, there's a variety of different options that you can definitely consider. But one of the things that we want to talk about is how this is actually going to look in the context of your education. So typically those who are interested in teaching will go through their undergraduate studies, and in some cases they'll actually get their teaching license during their undergraduate studies, and in some cases they'll actually get a secondary degree in education after they graduate, or they'll take the required courses to get their licensing after they graduate as well. This is going to differ depending on what country you happen to live in, whether it's the United States or Canada, and specifically where in either of the two countries you are living and where you're going to be studying, and more importantly, where it is you want to be teaching when you graduate. And so for those of you who are pursuing a teaching route, it's very important for you to do your research as early as possible to determine what the requirements are, specifically where you're located, and how you can actually structure your education in such a way where you can meet this the most effectively. And so those of you who are doing research for the very first time, you're probably very curious about why it is you need to get specialized instruction within education. Isn't it sufficient enough to be extremely proficient in the specific subject area that you actually want to be teaching? What I think you'll find is that there's a variety of different challenges that a teacher might come across, and having specific knowledge in this and how to address some of these concerns that might arise within a classroom setting is going to be extremely important in actually making someone an effective teacher. I think it's very important for you to remember that just because somebody is very, very gifted in a particular field of study does not at all mean that they're going to be the most effective person at teaching this knowledge to somebody else. This is why having specific coursework in education that's going to be required for your as part of your licensing requirements is going to be extremely important in helping you understand ways that you can actually structure some of your lessons, how to handle conflict within a classroom setting, and how to handle some of the other challenges that are going to come along with being a teacher in general. Also, candidates who are going through the licensing procedures will actually be required to also spend some time within a classroom where they're going to get some hands-on experience actually applying some of the knowledge that they've been able to obtain. This is also a great opportunity for them to get some hands-on experience actually teaching a class, observing another teacher actually instruct the class, or just leading the class themselves. I think this is a phenomenal opportunity to be able to determine whether or not the teaching route is right for that particular candidate. As you might know, facing some of the challenges in the classroom is not necessarily for everyone. Teaching can be an extremely rewarding but also challenging position, and so it's a great opportunity for students to get some hands-on experience to determine whether or not this is actually the best route for them in their futures. I think it's also worth talking about the labor market for teachers and how this is actually going to impact what and where it is that you might be teaching. What I think you'll find is that the demand for teachers is quite variable across the country. So, depending on what it is that you want to be teaching and what your background is, you might be in a situation where you might have to relocate in order to teach the subject area that you truly are passionate about. Alternatively, if you're tied to a specific area, you might actually have to branch away from your core competency and actually obtain courses in other subject areas so that you have additional teaching opportunities available to you. And this could actually be one of the benefits of being a teacher in the sense that if you're not necessarily happy with the subject area that you've been able to study and focus on during your undergraduate studies, there might be some opportunities for you to pursue additional coursework beyond your undergraduate degree, maybe even a master's degree in a different subject area as well, so that you have some additional teaching opportunities available to you as well. And so, if you're thinking about what the best major is for you to focus on if you want to be a teacher, you should not only think about the things that you're actually passionate about, but you should also think about some other areas that are going to make you more employable and open up some additional opportunities for you. For those of you who are interested in teaching, the opportunities really are endless. And a lot of it really does depend on what it is that you're willing to put into it and what it is you want to get out of your experiences teaching. Teaching can sometimes feel like it's a thankless position, so it really is important for you to be passionate about the subject area that you're teaching, but also even more passionate about making a difference in people's lives. With that said, if teaching itself isn't something that you're passionate about and it isn't something you want to devote your career to, there are other opportunities within the education system that you should also consider. Depending on your educational background, there's a variety of different types of positions that are very important within the education system that you should also consider as well. Some of these positions might include working within the administration, maybe as a secretary or some other type of auxiliary type of role that does support the schools. You might also consider working in positions like a librarian. Of course, in some cases, this might require very specialized skills and training, which is something that you can consider if it's something that you want to actually devote your career to. I think the key takeaway here is to be open to other opportunities that might fall outside of the traditional teaching path. Depending on what your specific interests are and what your specific educational background happens to be, there might be some alternative opportunities that might be more applicable to your specific skill set and your interests. So I hope this acted as a great introduction for those of you who are thinking about pursuing a career in teaching. Perhaps you're already a teacher and perhaps you know someone else who is a teacher. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns in the comment section below. I'd also love to see some suggestions for future segments in the comment section below as always. Thank you so much again for listening to this segment. If you appreciated this, please make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.